Hello, it's Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and today I'm going to be looking at a video called 5 Myths Will Sabotage Your Relationships with Women. And this is by Sterling Cooper, who is an award-winning adult film star and sex coach to thousands of men. He says that sex is a learnable skill just like any other, and my goal is to pass my experience and knowledge of that skill onto you. Through my work, I strive to emphasize the importance of undoing the damage that modern society has done to men by teaching them to embrace unapologetic masculinity and live a life more in touch with their true nature. So let's have a look at what Sterling's got to say about men and women.
So many men are walking around with a fundamental misunderstanding of female nature. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the 5 most common misconceptions, myths, that men believe about women. These are sabotaging their relationships and setting themselves up for failure. Now, it's time you fixed this broken belief system, and it's time that you stopped sabotaging yourself. Let's get stuck into it. I'm Sterling Cooper, award-winning adult film star, former high-class male companion. Welcome to my YouTube channel. The first myth that most men believe about women, that women think the same way that men do. They don't. You see, men process the world first through logic and then through emotion, whereas women process the world the other way around. They process things through emotion first, and then they backwards rationalize it with logic. This misunderstanding is the source of a lot of confusion, frustration, and arguments.
I do agree with that. I think that men primarily are more logical and women primarily are more emotional. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
In most relationships. The second biggest myth that most men believe about women is that they can somehow negotiate desire, that they can somehow logic a woman.
You can't negotiate desire, you can't choose who you're attracted to. It's an unconscious mechanism and it's out of your... In the same way you can't control if you're hungry or not. It's mediated by your body. It's your biology, it's your biochemistry. It's got nothing to do with your... You don't press a button on you and go, I'm going to be attracted to this person and now I'm not attracted to them anymore. It doesn't work like that.
A woman into arousal. A perfect example of this would be the concept of chore play, as opposed to foreplay. Chore play would be when you do the dishes or you take out the trash in exchange for a blowjob. Do some kind of household work, and then you expect her to reward you, logically, reward you with sex for doing your chores, for being a good little boy.
Yeah, I suppose we live in this world of trade whereby we're always giving something to get something, and that's kind of what we're taught from an early age. It's sort of like there's an exchange going on, and so I can understand why men would think that. And I think when I was younger, I'm just trying to think if I ever thought like that. I think the first girl I ever got with when I was like, oh God, I kind of thought a bit like that, but it didn't last very long because my gut instincts told me that that wasn't true, because going back to what I said earlier, you can't buy attraction. Someone's either attracted to you or they're not, and they're either using you or they're not.
Being a good little boy. This is not how arousal and desire work, especially not how they work with women. The third myth that most men believe about women is that they respond to visual stimulus the same way that men do. This is totally incorrect. A perfect example.
I agree with them, yeah. No, they're basically more on their feelings. So if, because, I mean, how many times have you seen like a girl go out with a guy that sort of like, isn't like aesthetically pleasing, but yet there's something about him that she's really attracted to? You know, girls will even surprise themselves. Oh, he's not usually my type, but I'm just feel drawn to him. So, yeah, it's not so much based on the aesthetics, even though they do play a role. They're not primary like they are so much with men. I'd just like to add this. I think a lot of these, 5 myths, these myths derive from men thinking that women think how men think when they don't. And I haven't seen the female video yet, but I'm sure the same will be true with the other way around. So when women make presumptions about men, it's basically their kind of like internal thought processes and judgments sort of projected onto the guy, And so they're a bit kind of shocked when they find out that that's not true. The same with guys. So guys value like looking at a girl and go, wow, she's stunning, and being attracted to a turn on. And they use that a lot as primary. And so they assume that women do the same thing when they don't. With women, it's more based on feelings than it is about the visual aesthetics of someone, although they do play a part.
Of this misunderstanding would be dick pics. Guys will send a dick pic to a woman thinking, oh, this is going to arouse her, this is going to turn her on, this is going to get a horn.
I've never understood the dick pic. Never understood it. I can't...
The complete reverse tends to happen a lot of the time. Now, for a guy, if a woman sent him a titty pic, that's fantastic. He's going to really enjoy that. He's going to appreciate that. It's probably going to turn him on. This doesn't work the other way around.
Again, I suppose that's why, because like I just said a minute ago, I've answered my own question in a way, is that sort of like men are turned on by that kind of a thing in some ways, so they assume that women will be too, but they're not, because they're not so much visual as men are.
You see, for a woman, a picture of a guy's lavish lifestyle, for example, a photo of him partying on a yacht surrounded by friends, is going to be far more compelling than, say, a mirror ab selfie. The fourth...
Yeah, and I think this has got a lot to do with storytelling, because women like stories, and women buy novels, and like the Mills and Boom, the 50 Shades of Grey, like I could go on and on. They love the story of the romance, so they're more into sort of like what's the backstory, what's the lifestyle, what's everything, the context surrounding the relationship. Whereas men, when you look at what men look at for a turn on, it's more to do with porn. And again, it's going back to they'll skip through the story. They don't care about the story. They want to get down to the nitty gritty. So it's sort of like, again, men and women kind of filter things and look at completely different things as an attraction cue for what turns them on.
Selfie. The fourth myth that most guys believe about women is that time investment actually counts for something. See, women are very fickle creatures, and they live in the moment, particularly in the emotional moment that they are in right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's based on how do I feel right now. So they think about making a decision, which is why they sometimes struggle to make decisions. And because they think about how they're feeling in the moment. And if they feel good, they'll do it. And if they don't, they won't. And it's kind of like, again, it's based on feelings. It's not so much about, well, logically, I need to do this, this, and this. Again, that's more of kind of like how a man would think. And he doesn't care how he feels about it. So, yeah, women, when she's in love with you, she's in love with you and there's no one else. And when she hates you and she doesn't want to have anything to do with you. And it can be the same people. It's just that she feels differently. One can be Monday, one can be Tuesday. On Monday, she loves you and there's no one else in the world and she cares about you and you're her everything. And then on Tuesday, she can't stand you, she's repulsed by you, she doesn't want to have anything to do with you and she wishes she'd never met you. So it's sort of like, and she's not lying either. She genuinely feels both in the moment. She's being honest. But it's not a very dependable way to be able to have a relationship, because if people get married, especially, you accept somebody for better or worse. Well, a lot of people don't. They only have people for better and better and better and better. So a perfect example of this is the wife who has been married to her husband for 15 years, all of a sudden gets bored and decides that he's changed, or that he's not the man that she married. Yeah, because it's not that he's not the man that she married, it's just that she just doesn't feel the same way about the man that she married.
What she's actually saying is that she is bored. Her emotions are flatlining. It's a dry relationship for her. So she's leaving to go find something more exciting, more emotionally fulfilling.
Yeah, because she's chasing the emotion. And like I've said about in other videos, it's sort of like the emotion lets you know that the relationship's moving somewhere. There's no emotion, there's no forward motion, because emotion tracks energy in motion. So if you have a goal and even if you have downs, it's okay, because it lets you know that you're aiming towards something. Both highs and lows mean that you're aiming towards something. Whereas when they feel like flatlined, like, you know, like when somebody's heart stops and it just goes, then it doesn't. That's the boredom. It's the lack of emotion. And there's a saying that goes around, like, you can do anything that you want to a woman except bore her. Oh, he said he loved me. Oh, we had an argument. Oh, I'm not sure what's happening. Oh, da 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 da. Like that's emotional. So they love it. They love the drama. And that's, again, you go back to books about romance. There's always a drama that's going on, a story that's being played out. You know, you watch all the soap operas and the Kardashians, and it's, oh, it's good, and now it's bad, and now we're reconciling, and this, that, the other, and everything. It's a journey.
Men will look at that situation and be like, what the hell? I gave 15 years, 10 years, whatever, of my life to this woman. I dedicated resources. I helped put our kids through school. None of that actually matters. The only thing...
Yeah, it's never a good investment. Like, it's a bit like drinking alcohol or like gambling money. It's sort of like, you only invest in like a woman when you can afford to lose your investment. I'm not saying you shouldn't invest in it. I'm just saying that you got to have your shit together and be able to tolerate a loss. And the family courts is a good example of that. You can't... You've got to accept that for a man, a relationship with a woman is going to be a liability, and it's not going to be an asset that grows with time. So it's important to invest wisely in your time, energy, attention with women, because you're probably not going to see a return on your investment.
The only thing that matters is the emotional state that she feels in the now, in this moment. And that can change, especially if you are extremely boring, scheduled and methodical and predictable. You see, when guys stop improving themselves and they stop living an exciting lifestyle, that is when women tend to end up divorcing them.
Yeah, because they're attracted to the lifestyle, like you mentioned earlier, and like that's why all the books are sold, because they're like the context around the relationship.
The fifth biggest myth that most guys believe about women, and this is without a doubt the most important one, and this is what I would be teaching my sons when they're growing up, is that women want what they say they want. You ever notice how women will say they want a nice guy and then go date a bad boy, for example? They say they want commitment, but then they'll have a one-night stand with some guy at the bar. What women say and what women do are fundamentally two different things.
You can't listen to what a woman says. They lie constantly. All you can do is look at the behaviour. The same is true with men. This isn't like a sexist thing I'm saying. I'm just saying this because it's relative to, that's what the video is about. But the same is true with men. Oh, he says this, but he does this. Well, look at what he does, not what he says.
I'll repeat that again, one more time so it sinks in. It's very important. What women say and what women do are two completely different things, and you should be paying attention to what she does, to her actions, to her behaviors. They are a far greater, far more trustworthy indicator of what actually attracts her, what actually turns her on, what she actually responds to. So
I agree, you have to pay attention to the behaviour, not what people say, because people can just say anything.
So pay attention to that instead. It's time for something a little bit more light-hearted. So check out my most embarrassing story on set ever at this video right here.
Right, that's cool. Let's have a look at the other